I was never anti-guns, but I don't own a gun. Like, I believe in the ability to own a gun, but I don't own a gun. And the main reason I don't own a gun is I wouldn't be here today if I owned a gun. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. People kill themselves. That's the reality of life. Suicide is real. I lost my wife and I lost my father to suicide. You know, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a counselor. I deal, though, with PTSD, ADHD, depression, anxiety. The depression I deal with is MDD. It's major depressive disorder. I can't take antidepressants. Because I can't take that, when one of these fuckers hits and that episode hits, fuck, my brain collapses. I didn't buy ever a gun, though, not even because of sobering up. It was when I was fucked up and I was using. I would not be here at all because I got manic depressive, whatever you want to call it. People would call it manic depressive, which is like diagnosing me and shit. No, I just got fucking depressed as fuck, and I would have killed myself, or I would be in a wheelchair right now because I would have probably had the recoil hit off and it probably grazed the top of my head. Instead of just a fucking divot here, I would have fucking bullet holes going through different parts of my fucking head. I would have shot myself, and I would have probably continued shooting myself until I killed myself. That's the reality of what mental illness is, and especially even what addiction is when you're in that much pain. I love going to the gun ranges. I love guns. I believe that people have the right to protect themselves. I have no issues when it comes to that. Just with me personally, like, dude, I'll go to the gun range anytime with anybody and go have fun. But when it comes to my own personal life, I can't own it, not because I don't want it. It's because I would kill myself. And I'm very, very open about that. Even being sober, I probably would. I would run that risk. Because I still get depressed. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about taking my life at times. And I'm not going to, but we have those voices in our head that are telling us that this is too much pain to end it. And it's a struggle, and it's reality. And all I would need is one of those moments where I'm like, fuck all this, grab a gun, put it in my mouth, pull the trigger. That's why I don't own one. You know, guns to me are scary because I know the ease of just pulling that trigger. You know, you're at the gun range and you're shooting off and you're target practicing, and that's fun. But I also have an obsessive brain that I don't need to be just staring at something going, oh my God, I could do this, I could do this, I could end it, I could end this pain, I could end this pain. I tried to commit suicide back in September of 2018. I'd already started all this stuff, but I'd gotten to that point. And it was triggered by a lot of different things. If I would have had a gun, I wouldn't be here. The reason I'm here and the reason I made it through that was I had a vodka that was in the freezer that my wife had swapped out, put water in, and it froze. And that was the catalyst to get it all started. I already had the rope hung, I had the letters done. I thought it out enough that where I hung myself, you claw at your neck and stuff, usually if you're choking, that if I gouged out my neck and there was blood and there was a mess, that it would be over an easy to clean area. The step stool is out. I'm saying my goodbyes in my head to everybody, reminding myself that I don't matter. The momentum's building up. And then when I went to, okay, fuck it, it's time. My wife had already came home for lunch. She left. Okay, it's time. Let's do this. The vodka's frozen. And I go, what the fuck am I doing? That stopped it all. If it was a gun, it would have been a different story. Because I would have just put the gun in my mouth and I would have pulled the trigger. And I may have woke back up. I may not have. I don't know. And it scares me. You know, it scares me to have those thoughts because my dad did take his life. And he's my dad. We have a lot of genetics in common. You know, depression is partially genetic. People don't realize that. It is a struggle every single day. And the more tools that I can place around me to help me fight through and not possibly instigate a situation is everything. Because I would obsess about it. It would own me. And I got to own it back. When we talk about suicide and you talk about guns and gun control, that shit's all great. But know if you need it, of why you need it and what you need it for. That it is because you truly need it to protect yourself or for enjoyment. not as a tool that you're going to take your life with. I was never a cutter. I was never any of that. I wasn't former military. I deal with PTSD. I mean, that's what mental illness is. I wish that there was almost even a background check of what kind of mental illness somebody may have, or if you were diagnosed with anything. I think that alone would save lives. I don't think that there's an ultimate solution other than human connection. Connecting with another human being, connecting with reality, and connecting with knowing that it's going to be okay, and putting together a life that you want, that nobody else wants, to find that inner happiness. I mean, that's why I created this company and then turned it into a nonprofit-driven industries. It was driven because what drives you in life? What are your passions in life? You know, the one is because you're the only one that can figure out what your passions are. Industries, because it could be anything. It could be music. Like with me, it's helping people. It could be drawing. It could be singing. It could be being a doctor. It could be being a counselor. It could be being a lawyer. Whatever is your passion. You know, that's what combats those negative thoughts. And a lot of therapy, a lot of help too. I ain't gonna lie, medication helps. If I'm off my meds, I'm fucked. If I'm off my Adderall, I get fucked. Because then my brain just starts spinning and I get very frustrated, I get very angry. And then being ADHD, you have the hyperactivity that all I would need is that hyperactivity to really kick in on a very depressive episode, grab a gun and boom. And now I'm not here anymore. And not thinking of the consequences of the people that I hurt, of the pain that'd be left behind. Because I mean, I've had it happen twice. I had it happen with my dad, I had it happen with my wife. I mean, I was already actively drinking very hard when she took her life. So I never really grieved. My dad I was sober with. So, I mean, it really fucked up my brain of how do I even grieve? How do I even separate the two? And grief is different for everybody. And there's that pain that's coming out when you're grieving. When that pain's coming out when it's grieving, again, no guns. Not worried about knives, not worried about anything else. But guns scare me. Because it's that easy, quick solution. And I know I would do it. And one of the biggest things that you can be is honest and open about that. I mean, know yourself. Own it. The more that you own it, the less that it owns you. The more that you don't have that fear. You're not scared. You're not scared because you don't understand this. The more that you share about it, the more that you understand it. I mean, that's why I am doing even these videos like this and nonstop, because I'm trying to own as much as I can right now to fight through what I'm going through. And a lot of it is sharing what's going on in our head, of what our fears are. Once you share those fears or your traumatic experiences, you own it. It doesn't own you. It's getting that out there and then being able to journal about it or write about it. I could never even hold a gun for somebody. You know, I held it overnight and stuff. I would be too worried. I got to know my boundaries. And that's one of my boundaries. Having boundaries doesn't just mean don't say these words or don't come near me or don't do that. No, boundaries are also objects too. And one of my objects and my boundaries is a gun. I wish it was different, but it's not. And if you are struggling with those thoughts and you haven't gotten any help, get help. And don't be afraid to tell your doctor. I mean, I've told my doctors before about this, of my fear of guns, of my fear of how I would react to myself. Open up to your doctors, be honest with your doctors, and find healthy coping mechanisms with them, whether it's medication, whether it's different tools that you use of, journaling and finding out what your triggers are and then avoiding your triggers, whether it is taking more self-love and self-maintenance time, whatever it is to help combat those thoughts and those voices. Because they are voices in your head. It's like you're having a conversation up here with yourself. That's the reality of it. And if you're not being able to open up with your therapist, find a new therapist. It's trial and error to find what therapist works for you. It's trial and error to find out what medication works for you. Involve your brain into that instead of the negative, instead of the obsession. That's how I fight through those voices. Is all trial and error. There's no guidebook to saying, hey, you've lost people to suicide. You're suicidal also at times. You've had thoughts of suicide. You've had suicidal ideation. Here's what you do. Don't buy a gun. No, it's trial and error that you know yourself well enough. But you don't know yourself well enough unless you're self-maintenancing yourself that well. So make sure that you're taking time for yourself. You know, if you're having trouble cutting, you know, get the razor blades out. Get them fucking out of the house. You don't need them there. You're the most important person in the world. So don't ever forget that. If you haven't clicked the like and subscribe button, click the like and subscribe button. I share a lot of videos on YouTube, and a lot of them are personal experiences, and eventually I'm going to get other people to start sharing their experiences too. Because the more that we share about mental health and mental illness, the more that we break down those walls. I mean, I throw my number out on TikTok every single day, not because I'm a doctor, not because I'm a counselor, any of that. I know that sharing experiences motivates others to share their experiences and to know that it's okay what they're going through and not feel as alone. Down below, even I have affiliate links to all the different tools on Amazon that I use, to my website. Founded a nonprofit mental health called Driven Together. It bridges the gap between a crisis line and therapy. It's having support tools and resources to fight through those times that we need to. I even have a link down there for BetterHelp. You know, if you've never tried therapy and you want to try therapy and you're scared, do it out of the comfort of your own home then. And it may or may not work for you. I know success stories that it's worked for, and I know people that it hasn't worked for, and that's okay. Because we're all different. It's about not giving up though and finding what works for us. Most of all, knowing that you matter. Knowing that you're amazing. Knowing that you're a BAMP, that you're a badass motherfucker, that you made it through 100% of your worst days to make it through 2 today. That you are strong enough, that you are good enough, that you're pretty fucking amazing. And if you haven't loved yourself today, go look in the mirror and remind yourself that you're beautiful, wonderful, smart, gorgeous, amazing. You might not believe it at first. After a while, you will. That's the whole thing about fucking affirmations, getting our brain on that positive note. Click that like and subscribe button. Comment down below. I'd love to know your thoughts. And you know what? Let's do this together. It is a we thing. It's a us thing. It's a together thing every single day fighting through. And you got this.